the wrong line.
That was one of my favorite songs, Right Place, Wrong Time, with Dr. John. I think it reflects the topic of this presentation quite well. Well, I'm from the Swedish Defense Research Agency. I work at the Department of Societal Safety and Security. And ICS is one of the areas that we simply have to cover. And that's why we are running this NCS3 program together with MSB. And this case study is just one example of what we're doing together. You will get more examples after lunch when my colleagues is on stage. Well, the study is presented in this brief, and you can have a bunch of them with you home to your colleagues. The original report is in Swedish, unfortunately, for some of you. And by the way, I chose this picture because I think it captures the soul of classical ICS in a beautiful manner. This system is autonomous, it's offline, it's extremely reliable. This man catches more fish than anyone else in the neighborhood. I know that because I'm the neighbor. I took this picture myself. So in a way, he's in the right place, but at the wrong time, because people is considering him quite obsolete. Well, the study, we're asking how, sorry, I was watching the wrong monitor. I'm sorry for that. Yeah, we're asking how is aging of ICS regarded and dealt with in some societally important industries. The study is inspired by what is going on in the nuclear power industry when plant life is extended and new techniques are introduced. But we're looking at, for example, sewerage and drinking water supply, processing, transportation, and district heating. Some blurry spots, asking ICS experts and stakeholders in those industries what mechanisms drive the measures due to aging. Are you dealing with aging at all? And are there any implications for society? To do this, we just created a conceptual model of aging, how to talk about aging. For now, we just accept the difference between absolute and relative aging. We have a topological model with 3 levels: information level, automation level, feed level, and the process and the internet surrounding these levels. And the empirical data was from the interviews with some 10 stakeholders. So that's the setting. And the results. Firstly, physical aging is not considered strange or challenging. At lower levels, the reliability of the process is so critical, so you just make sure you have a robust support context. At higher levels, you do modernizations and substitutions with a frequency that is so fast that aging mechanisms, physical aging mechanisms, simply won't be enabled. And the question is if failures on these levels affect the process at all. I mean, a SCADA outage may not affect the process for a couple of days, depending on which plant, of course. There isn't just one single perspective, though. One of our respondents claims that if you don't have a good overview of how things are developing, you could easily get into a situation where things are beginning to fall apart. The aging rate is so fast and the replacement rate so low that society is at risk. So this respondent claims that, I think this is about that in some industries, the resources allocated are too scarce, or perhaps there are generations of components reaching their utmost limits at a time. We will come back to this later. Next, we have contextual aging, one thing that they talk about is the horizon, the support horizon, and the provision of competence as setting the limits at determining the aging pace. So substitutions are not made due to degradation, but due to the lack of spare parts, for example. Things are aged when the supplier says so. And we have an increasing skills gap. Recently graduated engineers are not interested in old-fashioned systems, and the senior engineers have few possibilities to keep up with the race to assimilate new knowledge and technologies. There is a connection to support here. You have to ask how many are available to give support, maybe only 4 or 5 pensioners. Is that support? One has to get to the bottom of support quality. Yeah, and another topic is cascading aging, that substitutions due to compatibility problems are causing themselves causing things being considered outdated. That's kind of aging propagating throughout the systems. And this is a problem especially for those stakeholders that are bound by directives on public procurement, because they cannot simply rely on soft parameters like compatibility or support quality when they do their tendering compared to other harder parameters like price, for example. So they risk to end up with a patchwork of new and old different vendors, standards and protocols, and of course they cannot have the same support guarantees. When we ask them what's the driving force, not surprisingly, it's the digitalization. That prompt software updates involve the whole structure, the whole ICS structure. One of them say that the further from Microsoft, the longer the stuff can stay. And another one, here in control systems, we're irritated with Microsoft. They've delivered operating systems with extremely short lifespans. This means that the control system suppliers have to upgrade their systems, which in turn creates large cost increases for the manufacturers. And something that we heard a lot of yesterday is that ICS is approaching IT. And it has an upside because in a way, this provides arguments to make larger changes. Security is opening the ears of the company's directors, as one of the respondents expresses. And another one, again, there's not only one single perspective, because there's the opinion that still it's the same old control technology that rules. I will sum this up in a picture before we go to the conclusions. What you see here is that the automation level is kind of squeezed in between the requirements for change from the information level and the counterforce from below, the requirement for stability from the field level. Perhaps this is the logical consequence of being cyber physic or cyber physical, and one effect is that the automation level is surrounded by a sophisticated support context. Actually, you can define aging against this support context rather than the requirement context. And this means that the stakeholders are very dependent on the vendors and the suppliers with all their tailored transitional solutions and so on. And the conclusions, well, the study, as I started up with, the study reveals no significant issues with aging in the traditional sense, which is degrading, physical degrading until something just stops. The main challenge is aging in relation to contextual requirements, primarily imposed by the rapidly evolving area of information, supervision, and data acquisition. This means that new automation equipment is very soon considered obsolete. Next one is that the boundaries are primarily set by the supplier's ever shorter support horizon and available competence. And that there is an obvious trend that ICS and IT are merging alongside a decreasing level of technical skills and a stronger vendors oligopoly. Another three conclusions. The stakeholders are aware of these challenges. That's very clear. And they have a good dialogue with their suppliers. They in turn flag well ahead of phase-outs and provide transitional solutions. So that's the support context that's important at automation level. And finally, the capacity to keep up with the race differs among the stakeholders. Before that, security aspects provide arguments for thorough changes. Perhaps that's the holistic overview approach that you need to cope with the problems that one of the responders highlighted, that things are actually aging and falling apart. And finally, the capacity to keep up with the race differs among the stakeholders. Economy, competence, and organizational aspects are limiting proactive work. Public procurement may restrain the appliance of comprehensive deals for those who are bound by those requirements, of course. And the above aspects may contribute to the growth of vulnerabilities such as black boxes and patchworks that restrain maintenance, planning, and possibilities to get support. And this in turn, of course, makes security even more tricky. That was what I had. the report is, the brief is here for you to fetch outside at the NCS 3 table. And well, I just say thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vidar. Thank you, Vidar. And now, to conclude this research session, we have Semin Najim Tehrani from Linköping University, who will present about anomalies detection in ICS.
Thank you, Eric.